Mark the Guitar Guy here, and today we're going to be looking at this little bad boy here, which is called, I call it a capo or a capo, is another thing it's called. But we're going to be talking about what a capo is, or a capo. I'll call it a capo, that's what I'm used to saying. It could be wrong, but don't go, nah, that's not what it's called. We'll call it a capo, alright? We'll call it a capo. And we're going to be talking about why you have one, why you need one, and what makes a capo awesome. Okay? So basically, what is a capo? A capo is basically the neck of the guitar. If you look down the neck of the guitar, you've got the nut, this end of the guitar. We're just simply replacing the nut by bringing it up the guitar. And what that does is shorten the strings and makes the notes higher, okay? So here's an E minor, for example. Don't want one finger because I'm holding a capo, but here's an E minor, basically down the end, okay? Let's do that properly. Here's an E minor chord. So that E minor was down the bottom there, everything's fine. Now if I put a capo on the first fret, it's higher, okay? It's going to be higher. And then each time I go up, it's going to be another fret higher. So I can change the key of a song. I could be singing a song going, oh, it's a wee bit low there, or it's a wee bit high somewhere. I can try putting a capo and going, you know what, I'll put a capo here and play the same chords. La, 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 la. Oh, that's better, it's a nice key now, and then you can do the chords to the song. So that's one reason you can use a capo. So for changing the key of a song. So instead of being like too hard to sing, you're going to change it and we sound cooler. That's one reason. Another thing is, instead of doing, let's say you've got some chords down the bottom and you're playing a G chord, and your guitar player is already playing a G chord in the band, and you're another guitar player in the band, or you're playing another part of the song, but you don't want to do the same old thing that they're doing. You want to do it slightly different. So you might want to find that chord, that G sound, in a different position. Well, I know, because I know guitar, there's the D shape on the 7th fret is actually going to be a G. So if I put the capo behind that, on the 5th fret there, and play a D shape, and that ends up being a G. Let's have a listen. There's a D, so a shape which is actually a G chord. Technically, if I go to my 0 shape, play a G, it's the same sound, just a higher position, and then we get a very different little sound there. Now, a capo is not, a lot of people think, oh, capos, you're cheating by using a capo. You need to learn your bar chords. And you do need to know your bar chords. It is a really cool thing to know. But a capo allows those open strings ringings. Like if I play a G shape up there, I've got all those nice jingly jangly open strings, and it kind of makes a guitar take on a different flavor. It's got all these, it's got a different sound about it up there. And the more I go, higher I go, it gets more of a mandolin feeling. Kind of like discovering a new guitar. It just transforms the sound of your guitar. So those are cool, a couple of cool little reasons why you would use a capo. I love them because they just make me play slightly differently. You know, like they've got a little chimey effect, especially with that little thing I was doing before that. It's got that little sound about it that when it goes high up the guitar, it just sounds cool. It just sounds really cool. So capos are really, really handy. I use them a lot for when I need to change a key of a song and I just think, it's just not working, but I know the chords really well, and so I'll chuck the capo in a different position and I'll find a song that's really just nicer to play. Okay, so that's what a capo does. So there's many types of different capos out there. You've got ones like this one here, which is a clamp type one with a spring on it, spring loaded, means so I can put it on with one hand anywhere I want to, and it plays nicely and plays it nice and easy to use. There's other types. There's wraparound ones. The very first ones that were made were pretty much just a bar with a bit of elastic tightly wrapped around it, and then you wrap it around the top and it would push all the strings down. All it really is something that's simply clamping the strings down to block them off. A couple of little tips though when you're using a capo. Say if I was to put it on the 3rd fret here. If I was going to put it on, most people would put it on the very middle of the fret, and that would make sense. Oh, it's the middle of the fret, that's the place to put it. But actually, you can get a few, it's not buzzing here, but if you go a bit too low by mistake, you're going to get these little buzzy sounds. That sort of sound. But by going nice and high, there's a couple of things that happen. So it's nice and high, tucks right up against that fret. That's going to give you perfect sound, like as if you're playing a chord. You need it to be on the higher end of the fret. That's one thing, and also means if it's too far down, you tend to try and sometimes want to put your fingers in there because you think you see a fret, and that's like, oh, that's where my C chord goes. And you're wondering why it sounds horrible because your C is actually there, but that's making you think there's another fret to play. Okay, so just psychologically more that for that reason. So make sure you get it in a high position and you'll get a good sound. Okay, and the other thing is, depending on how the capo is, some people approach it from underneath, but I don't like, that just feels really awkward to get that underneath because it's hard to even put it there. But by being underneath, there's certain things that my hand sort of gets in the way, the bottom half of my hand, so I like to make sure that I approach it from the top. And that way it allows all the space underneath, it's not going to get in the way. So if I'm up here doing something, so my hand can come right in here, it's not being affected in any way. It's not being affected in any way up here. So those are a couple of tips there for using a capo. Should you get a capo? I think every guitarist should have a capo and maybe even a guitar slide and a couple of little tricky things that are kind of fun to play with, just to take the monotony away of just playing the same old sounding guitar every time. It really does change things a lot. Plus there's some cool songs out there that use a capo that will transform your playing. You can play them in the first position and the zero position. However, when you put the capo on, it just makes it sound exactly like the album. Free Falling is an example of that, where the capo, I think it's on the 3rd fret. Sounds really awesome. So there's the capo, and later on we're going to get in some videos on how to use a capo a little bit more effectively and some cool little tips and tricks for using one. But there you go, a pretty general introduction to a capo, and I use it all the time. Doesn't make you an awful guitar player by using one, it just makes things kind of interesting for you. So hopefully that sounds good. If you like my style of teaching, if you like my videos, if you like me, think I'm awesome, then don't subscribe. Don't do that. Don't put yourself through the torture of that. Maybe if you want to risk it, just go ahead and subscribe. You might like some other videos as well. And if you really like my style of teaching, go and check out JAMORAMA.com. You get access to all this awesome material, including some free stuff and all my fundamental guitar lessons on helping you become an awesome guitar player. This is Mark the Guitar Guy signing off. We'll see you again next time.